Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We turn our attention back to what we need to do to revamp the economy, especially in the face of the dwindling oil prices. We're joined this morning by Israel Aye, who is a partner, Sterling Partnership, and also the director, Aspen Energy Nigeria Limited. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I did look through some of your write-up where you did say, look, we need to start asking ourselves, how do we get here in the first instance such? Because if we don't know how we got here, we may not eventually know how do we navigate and to take very clear steps. But is it that it's not as clear as to how we got here in the first place?
Yeah, well, how did we get here? It is simply, you know how it is said that some people can snatch a victory out of the jaws of defeat? I think we basically
I said over the weekend, Liverpool and
exactly.
I saw it.
You know, but we rather ingeniously have found a way to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. And in a nutshell, I'd say that we're here because we took what is potentially an advantage and just turned it into a disadvantage. If you think about the trajectory of the Nigerian economy prior to the discovery of oil and how well we were doing, I mean, the economy was so robust and was doing so well. The naira was equivalent to the dollar, to the pound, and was actually stronger than the dollar. But when we found oil, we simply abandoned every other facet of development and focused exclusively on oil, which is entirely not sustainable. So, in a nutshell, I'd say that's how we got here.
But, you know, let's also add this part, because we talked about diversifying our economy. It's almost like a regular cliche and phraseology that we've been using for years now. Yet, here we still are, still grappling with funding challenges about the budget, because our monoproduct economy is in big challenge now.
Well, I mean, what is probably should I say, sadder is the fact that the potential for this economy to grow on the back of several other sources is enormous. You know, the potential that exists in manufacturing, the potential that exists in tourism, the potential that exists, well, retail is beginning to come around somewhere, you know, but we don't even have the supply base for retail. So it would still be limited in terms of its potential, you know, and so the potential is endless for steel. I mean, Ajaokuta and Alaja, just as examples, the solid minerals and several other things that for some countries have become huge foreign exchange earners and stimulants for growing the economy.
And so we remain a country of great potential. I don't know who I was speaking with who said, if I hear one more conference on Nigeria's potentials, I'm going to run mad.
I hear you.
but, you know, why is it? I mean, I'm sure we saw this potential way before now. We've had this solid minerals with us. We've had crude oil with us. We've had agriculture with us. Yet it remains potential.
Well, I share your frustration, and I'd probably say the same thing. I mean, which is probably the sense of exasperation I feel, you feel, and I believe many Nigerians feel, because what it takes to turn this economy around, to make this a going concern, is really and truly, one, just the will, and in terms of the know-how, is really off the shelf. In other words, the things we need to do to fix our system, to fix this nation, exists essentially really the solutions are off-the-shelf solutions.
I do not want to be, well, I think I was just expressing what somebody thought. I'm not being such a pessimist. I can't even afford it because I'm quite young and I really want to believe in this country. I believe in this country, I do. But, you know, is there any area that you've looked at that gives you hope, that says, well, on this path, we're actually on the, you know, right path to really harnessing, you begin to see that we're harnessing the potential that we actually have in a sector to see what it is that we can do with it?
Well, but
it's hard for you to remember one.
No. The entrepreneurial spirit of Nigerians itself is huge. I mean, if you think about Dubai as a phenomenon, I mean, literally grew out of the sands in 8 years. You know, I'm one of those persons who believe that the day we develop the will and put the right policies in place, Nigeria can come out of what it is, I think, in shorter time. I think we have the potential to do, you know, tremendously better. And so, if you ask where do I see the ray of hope, I would say the spirit of Nigerians, you know, particularly of the young generation. If you think about, you know, the never say die spirit. Look at what they've done with the entertainment industry. Literally pulls themselves up by the bootstraps, you know, with little or no capital or support, looked inwards and have created a multi-billion-dollar industry, still at its crudest, rudimentary level, and have created an export product we didn't know existed, you know, have become ambassadors for us. So if I think about that, yeah, that gives me a lot of hope and confidence that those who then have the responsibility, that when those who have the responsibility to manage, you know, policies at the sort of macroeconomic level get their acts right, the Nigerian spirit is sufficient to drive us forward in the shortest possible time.
You know, I've been going through your piece you wrote, and it's good that we having to draw quotes and quotable quotes from Nigerians. For instance, you quoted Aliko Dangote there because people can relate to these people because they can see them, they can feel them, and even touch some of them here. And you also talked about Dubai. If you bring it back home, it would seem as if some of these individuals you highlighted in your write-up, in your piece, have been able to take some kind of leap out of painful situations and turn them around and see how much they can get. And Nigeria is going through what it is going through now, but we've been able to see notable individuals. For instance, Femi Otedola, we all saw what he went through with the bank issues, and after paying all of that, he rebranded, and this is what he is now. Reading about him in Times and so many other dailies. What is it we're not getting right when we talk about the downturn, and you say we can actually get some form of good and sweet moments out of this painful situation we are going through now?
Well, and that's a very good parallel you've drawn, that the entrepreneurial spirit thrives usually in the midst of difficulty. You know, somehow you get the best out of that. And if you were to extrapolate that from individuals, what is true about individuals is true about communities, it's true about nations. Nigeria has yet again a golden opportunity to achieve the hitherto elusive diversification of our economy in the present crisis. I'm one of those persons, like the rest of my colleagues out there, who envisaged that this day will come. It is the nature of commodities generally, and it is what has happened with the oil industry from inception. There's nothing that is happening now that is entirely new. Oil prices have always come up and they've gone down. I remember about 2000 and this should be about 2009. I mean, people forget that there was a day oil prices hit $10 a barrel before it began to come back up. And I remember contracts, particularly the 93 generation of the production sharing contracts, were written against the sort of mindset that oil prices may not go beyond $20. And $20 was considered at the time as a nirvana. So here we are, still above $20 and belly aching because then oil prices had gone above, I'm just coming in a moment, gone above $100 and the rest of it. So I would say let us not waste this crisis. This crisis has the potential to help us wake up, to realize one critical factor, that even oil prices at $200 would not generate enough revenue to grow this economy. It's probably the most critical point to make, that oil revenues will never, I mean, if you think, sorry to
no, go ahead.
hijack you, Suleiman. If you look at the national, the infrastructure blueprint, which was developed in the last government, it is anticipated that in order to bridge the so-called infrastructure gap, we would need to spend about approximately $3 trillion, not naira, $3 trillion across a 30-year period. If you were to annualize that sort of amount, what it tells you simply is that we do not have the capacity, definitely not from one industry, to generate the revenue to be able to meet that. You know, so what it means is that we need to put a framework, the appropriate framework in place to be able to generate, to be able to attract capital from within and from without to grow this economy, you know, a variety of it. And therefore, relying exclusively on oil revenues to not only, to in fact run your, what do you call it now? To run your recurrent expenditure and your operating expense is totally irresponsible and not attainable. So my short-hand answer to your question is we should not waste the present crisis. The pain should pinch us, you know, hopefully galvanize us into taking the kinds of decisions that we need to open up other sources.
But in all of this,